Hello everyone, nubkeks here, welcome back to Nub Raids, and I've got actually a few bits of pretty spicy news for you here today from the Raid social media pages, covering blessings from the Awakening system and probably the thing that's in the thumbnail and you're clicking for, Ultimate Death Knight. He is coming to the game, bam, 25th of August. Alright, so the 25th of August, that is this Thursday, is when Ultimate Death Knight is coming to the game, and he is going to be a free login champion. If we scroll earlier in the video, yeah, here we go, you can see this event is going to be running from the 25th of August till the 27th of October. So you've got 2 months, log in for 7 days. Over those 2 months, and you will get Ultimate Death Knight. Should be how it works. I think on top of this, they were talking in this announcement video, there's going to be things like promo codes and perhaps actual bonuses, stuff like that happening, and those will be revealed through social media, so their Twitter, Facebook accounts, and yeah, obviously all the content creators are probably going to be doing videos on that as well, because you get so many views when you do a promo code video. So there we go, that's the first big bit of news. Ultimate Death Knight coming to the game. In terms of quick speculation, in terms of what he might do, he's obviously going to be in the Undead Horde faction. In fact, it does say it if we look at the, if you come to the end of this video here, it does say he's got the Undead Horde banner. He is obviously going to be Undead Horde, not really a surprise. The original Death Knight, he has a chance to sleep on his A1, and then he has a chance to counterattack when hit. So I'm curious, I mean, it's our best speculation. He is a HP-based champion. Speculation would be that he'll still be a HP-based champion, probably very tanky. He might have some sort of crowd control with some AoE sleeps, which would be very powerful in the arena. He might have some form of self-counterattack or maybe AoE team counterattack. I think the team counterattack is more unlikely, but I think a cool passive that lets him attack would be pretty fun. It would be nice to see him having a multi-hit A1. From a lot of their promotional materials with Death Knight in the past, it's often him versus Fire Knight. And with Fire Knight, counterattack's very strong. Multi-hit A1s are very strong to knock down the shield. So something along those lines would be my guess. Of course, we'll find out very shortly on Thursday. As well, remember, we have the new Fusion Fragment Collector starting on Thursday. We'll see what the schedule of that looks like. I do agree with what most of the comments on that video were saying for the Epic Collector. Negorio, I think his name was, that it's not really worth going for an Epic Collector champion if they... I just realized I've got tea brewing, hang on. If you have to pull shards for it, it's not really worth it, you know? Like, if you have to pull even, like, let's say 3 sacred shards to get an epic, is it worth it? Not super worth it. I mean, maybe if you really need him for faction wars, you're stuck on Shadowkin. But yeah, there you go. Now, the other thing I want to look at, guys, we jump over to Facebook here, and we zoom in. I never use Facebook anymore. I used it when I was in college, and not anymore. God, this looks off. What is this? Absolute nonsense. All right, can we zoom in more? Look at what is this massive bar at the top of my screen? This is hideous. Right, anyway, what we have here, they've posted Raid on their official Facebook page all of the descriptions of the Dark Divinity, the Divinity of Dark. This is the new blessing system. I've done several videos on this before, but basically you'll be able to slot in a corresponding or lower tier rarity blessing to any of your champions once they are awakened. And the effects of these obviously scale up the more your champion is awakened. It's like the next form of Ascension. Let's take a look at these though, a quick look at all 6. We've seen some of these before in my other videos, so we'll go through this somewhat quick. Ward of the Fallen, it's a legendary, so only legendary champs can use this. Start each round with a number of bone armor stacks. Each bone armor stack decreases the damage the recipient receives from a single hit, then disappears. A champion can have a maximum of 3 bone armor stacks at one time. So basically, the more that you are awakened, you start with more bone armor, basically, and the effect becomes stronger. I think it was something like, even at mid-level, was something like a 20% damage reduction, which is absolutely huge. You imagine starting off an arena match with even 2 bone armor stacks. You can take 2 hits with 20% damage reduction. It's very equivalent to tanking those hits with a strengthen buff. You imagine a bolster shield on those champions, stuff like that. This becomes an incredibly effective way to survive, even if you're not like in stone skin. So it's pretty exciting there. Now, there is a high awakening bonus as well. Do bonus damage to each enemy hit by this champion. The number of times bonus damage is inflicted on each enemy target is equal to the number of dead allies. Bonus damage is proportional to this champion's attack. adds 1 bone armor stack for each instance of bonus damage inflicted. So this is pretty spicy. You're going to start, when your team starts dying off, you start to hit a lot harder. I would say, for example, Hefrak stands out as a champion that would work very well with this. If we go to Hefrak, as we know, nukes like crazy, and he has a passive that when an ally dies, he instantly gets to do his AoE attack, which is very strong. So he would work, I think, very, very well with something like this. He's going to scale off his attack. He will have high attack. He's going to do bonus damage when someone dies and start getting more bone armor, making himself tankier. It's a pretty interesting concept. Bonus damage will not be inflicted when damaging enemies with masteries, passive skills, reflected damage, poison, or HP burn debuffs. So yeah, fairly standard here. Like just debuffy type things aren't gonna trigger it, but looks like a pretty powerful one. Temporal Chains is the other option, legendary in the Divinity of Dark. And by the way, we know from the video I did, I think yesterday, that it's going to cost you a chunk of gems, quite a big chunk, like 300 or so, to swap between blessings within a given divinity. And then it's going to cost a big extra chunk, something more like 500, was it, to swap to a blessing of a different divinity. So it's a bit easier, but still very expensive to swap between blessings of a divinity, and more expensive otherwise. Temporal Chains, the other legendary one, decrease each enemy's speed for each active buff they are under, and then a high awakening bonus. Whenever an enemy receives a third active buff, instantly decrease the turn meters of all enemies by a certain amount. Now that is very powerful. It has a 4-turn cooldown. It's very small, you might not be able to see. But again, if you think about in the arena, let's say a team, and they are a speed-tuned team, and Sifi is the intended one to be their speed booster. She puts out block debuffs, increased defense, increased speed. She does those things, then you come in, they get their 3 buffs, and boom, push back the turn meter of all the enemies. Or, alternatively, if you consider Nekret the Great at the start of the round, he puts out block debuffs, strengthen, and ally protection on a target. That's 3 buffs. 3 buffs on that target. Push back the turn meter of all enemies. All enemies. Plus then doing some extra decreased speed stuff. This is a very powerful one, again, I think, to really manipulate the arena. Not so powerful outside of the arena, I would say. Like, there's not that many PvE enemies that are going to be getting that many buffs. You should be crowd controlling them. You should be faster. But, yeah, it's pretty spicy, right? Then we go to the epic one. So these can be equipped by legendary or epic champions. Lethal Dose is the first one. Increase the damage enemies receive from poison debuffs placed by this champion in the arena. A bit disappointing it's arena only. I guess if it was everywhere, it would be the only possible blessing for poisoners, but there it is. A high awakening bonus. So I think these high awakening bonuses usually kick in. It's either 5 or usually, I think, 6-star awaken. So it's hard to get that high awakening bonus. It's, you're going to be very lucky to get any high awakening bonuses going, I think, in the first few months of this thing. It's going to take a long time to get them, I think. Depends if they monetize this and let you buy lots of it, in which case whales will get it, but we'll see. Will ignore 35% of each target's resistance when placing poison debuffs on enemy champions in the arena. I think this is definitely pretty interesting. Poison is really, it's not a thing. Let's be real. It is really not a thing at all in Arena. It just doesn't feature. It's not a viable strategy. Too difficult to kill stuff too slowly. We'll see how much this pumps it up. Potentially it makes poisons a bit more interesting. And ignoring the resistance also makes it a lot easier to get poisons onto those high HP tanky champions. You think of champions like Withier, though of course she can cleanse, right? But even Duchess, Sifi, those tanky revivers, you can start to wear them down, get through their resistance and start to poison them. So I'm certainly thinking, man, we're doing a lot of Undead Horde. I think Euros could be a cool one here, who's going to be strengthening and ally protecting his team. Then he puts out poisons whenever he's attacked. So letting you land those poisons more consistently. He can decrease max HP, enemy max HP. He has an AoE stun. He shields himself. It could be pretty spicy. You know, there's definitely some interesting things to consider when we come to look at how this is going to affect things, though it's very, very niche. Yeah, it's very niche, but we'll see. Cruelty, this one I think is going to be very popular. Epic as well. Whenever this champion hits an enemy, decreases their defense until the end of the round. Occurs once per hit. So the end of the round, if you think about 1-round fights, Hydra, Arena, Demon Lord, these are all 1-round fights, you know? So this is a pretty big deal. that could really up your damage massively. Consider the Hydra heads. They've got a ton of defense. Even bringing in just one champion with this is going to up the damage of your team, up the War Master damage of your team quite significantly, which is cool. If multiple champions have this blessing, you cannot decrease a single champion's defense by more than 40% or a boss's defense by more than 20%. But I mean, nonetheless, if you think about, again, Hydra or something like that, decreasing the boss's defense by 20% is pretty damn nice. So this is definitely one to look at. It depends how quickly it stacks up. Yeah, we'll see. And I guess maybe multi-hits could be very powerful. So if we consider a nuker that's not in the arena meta, but Ethos, he has a triple hitter AoE. Perhaps that's going to stack up this decreased defense thing really quickly, and this becomes really powerful. We'll see. Phantom Touch up next then. This is the first rare one, so it can be equipped by any champions, rare, epic, legendary, that are awakened. Has a chance of inflicting bonus damage to one enemy whenever this champion hits enemy targets. When hitting multiple targets at once, only one champion will receive bonus damage. The bonus damage is proportional to this champion's attack. Then the High Awakening bonus, you have a second chance of inflicting a chance of inflicting a second instance of bonus damage. So this seems like it depends how hard this hits. Of course, it's going to scale based off of attack. But big chunk of bonus damage for your nukers. This could be generally very good, honestly. And even for rare or epic nukers, definitely for rares, this is going to be your kind of go-to damage thing. We'll see. I'm not certain if it's going to be viable, if using rare blessings is going to be viable on legendaries, but perhaps it might be. So, yeah, I mean, you can only trigger on one enemy. The thing that makes this a bit funky is that you've got the High Awakening bonus. You can do a second instance. I think will it still be only on the single enemy, in which case it's really going to empower, let's say, single target nukers. So if we come in with someone like a Krutraxa, that could be really nice. Big single target hit here with an extra turn, and then a 4-hitter here that ignores defense. She might be very good with something like this, right? Smack him once, do potentially 2 chunks of bonus damage, hit him again, do more chunks of bonus damage. So single target nuker type thing. Dark Resolve then, the final one here for the Dark Divinity, has a chance of blocking any freeze, provoke, and true fear debuffs whenever an enemy tries to place them on this champion. Now, it does have a 1-turn cooldown. I'm not sure how useful this is going to be. Seems relatively weak. I mean, it's kind of useful for Hydra, I suppose, as a supporter type mastery. For any rare champions you're bringing in there, it could be quite good as a way to get around the Head of Torment, as a way to get around, there's actually quite a few Hydra heads that provoke you. We might see a freezing Hydra head at some point, you know, so it could be kind of nifty for that. I'm not sure if it's super useful elsewhere in the game. It's only a chance, so it's not super reliable, but maybe again it will help you counter Torment, that sort of thing. So we will see. We'll see. But there you go, guys. They are the 6. Yeah, we're back to the start. They are the 6 blessings, and that is Ultimate Death Knight coming on the 25th of August as well. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would not be shocked if we're ramping up to the Awakening system and blessings coming at the start of September. I wouldn't be super shocked. I think it really makes sense to release it during this period, right? If you're running a big campaign for Ultimate Death Knight, big promotional thing, getting new players in with a free legendary champion, I think it makes sense to bring Awakening out within this time frame as well, especially because it looks very complete and they're really teasing us with lots of details. I'm expecting it maybe September or October, pretty much at the latest at this point. But yeah, they could even bring it out on the 25th of August and I wouldn't be shocked. There you go, though. That's sort of my thoughts on all of this. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.